Thank you, Joanne, President Peirce, President Burnett, Mayor Lambert, distinguished guests and community members. It's my honor to read the nomination letter for the 2014 Rosa Parks Award, sponsored by the Latah County Human Rights Task Force. The custom at these events is to try to keep the citation gender neutral, to build a little suspense, particularly if the recipient is in the audience. And I'm going to forgo that artifice because it's going to quickly become apparent to you who this year's recipient is. And unfortunately, he is not here today. This is probably the first Martin Luther King breakfast in the 21-year history that he has not attended. He's out of town at a conference this weekend, but I'll go ahead and read the citation and save the name for the end, and as I go through the description, you'll quickly realize who the recipient is. Here are some examples of this year's award winner's advocacy on behalf of social justice, human rights, and diversity. He stepped in when students of color were openly harassed by those who would marginalize them in a misguided understanding of free speech rights. He clearly and demonstrably addressed violence against women. Through efforts in prevention, education, as well as accountability, he has increased the safety of men and women on the University of Idaho campus. He was instrumental in helping to secure a Stop the Hate program originated by the Southern Poverty Law Center and other groups to develop anti-bias education for staff, students, and faculty. He has promoted and personally participated in alternative service breaks in which students and staff members help with relief and development projects within and outside the United States. These have given U of I students unprecedented exposure to multicultural communities outside of Idaho. In his remarks Thursday night at the administration building, President Peirce talked a little bit about the Poor People's Campaign, one of Martin Luther King's legacies. And our award winner has been instrumental in anti-poverty efforts on the Palouse through the formation of Family Promise of the Palouse, a faith-based network to provide transitional housing for families. As president of the board, he visited dozens of congregations in Pullman and Moscow to identify host and partner churches. He has also been the public face of the organization as it sought to raise its profile in the community. Largely as a result of Family Promise, 4 families are receiving assistance this winter. He has helped steer that organization through its critical startup phase. By now, most of you realize I'm speaking of Bruce Pittman, the Dean of Students at the University of Idaho. As the university's website notes, Bruce Pittman is not your average Dean of Students. Students and parents alike can attest to that. In his 40 years at the university in various student services roles, Bruce has been the principal contact with students' families in times of triumph and tragedy. The former Assistant Dean of Students, Laura Hutchinson, wrote, "Bruce Pittman's compassion for students who are struggling and indeed suffering has made the difference not only in the quality of their lives at the University of Idaho, but in many cases, their ability to finish their college education." Bruce Pittman has created a climate of care and equity in Moscow and beyond. Because he has influenced administrators, faculty, and staff, like Laura Hutchinson, who have gone on to work elsewhere, he is responsible for a ripple effect that is felt nationwide. In summary, Bruce Pittman cares about people. His leadership, faith, and belief in humanity are a daily inspiration to all who come in contact with him. Bruce's wife, Kathy, is traveling with him this weekend, and so that would have been our logical choice to accept the award in his absence, and none of his 3 children could be here today. But I would like to invite Bruce's colleague and friend, the Vice Provost for Academic Affairs, Gene Stevenson, to come forward and accept the award on his behalf. Gene?
So thank you, Kenton. As many of you know, Bruce and I work closely together, and when Carmen invited me to accept this recognition on behalf of the many contributions Bruce has made, I thought about how he might approach this moment. He would be very humble, I'll say this again, but he would be very honored by this recognition, I believe. I believe Bruce would say that it takes the commitment of all of us in our communities to create the environment that supports and celebrates our strengths and our diversity. He would recognize the work of his many colleagues at the University of Idaho as we acknowledge his leadership and contributions for our work in our community. He would recognize the work of the Moscow community as it addresses its needs through programs like Family Promise, one in which he has provided significant leadership. And Bruce would be humbled and honored by this significant recognition of his life's work. So on behalf of Bruce Pittman, thank you